Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roach Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. We're talking about St. John's basketball yet again. I thought I was done. I thought that Rick Pitino has gotten everybody that he could possibly add to the St. John's roster, but nope, that is not the case because Chris Ledlum, the former Tennessee transfer addition, has decided not to go to the Volunteers. He reopened up his recruitment in the transfer portal, and he is now with the St. John's Red Storm. He's committed today. I don't even know what to say at this point because I've talked about St. John's basketball at length during this offseason. I've made several videos, as you can tell, about the subject. And yes, Rick Pitino, we know he's a Hall of Fame coach. We know that he is a guy that can bring in talent, but this is insane. He hasn't even coached a game yet at St. John's. He's not even gone through his first season of college basketball yet with the Red Storm. And despite all the stuff that has gone on during his coaching career, especially the fallout at Louisville, he's still a really respected guy in the college basketball world, and a lot of players want to play for him because they know how good of a coach Rick Pitino is and that he can help get guys to the pros. But I'm not going to go too in-depth about this addition with Chris Ledlum and the team because I've talked about St. John's so much, but I am going to break down how important I do think Chris Ledlum will be for St. John's next season and whether I think that this could raise the bar for how good the Red Storm could be next season. Now, the Big East has a lot of uncertainty for next season because you talk about UConn. Are they going to be as good as they were last year? You know, they won the national title, but they might take a bit of a step back despite having a really talented roster coming in and players returning to their roster as well. You also have Xavier and Creighton, two teams that have lost a little bit from their roster last season, but still should be good again this year. And then you look at Villanova, they might improve because of the fact that they've got a lot of guys coming in the portal and returning as well. And Kyle Neptune's team had a lot of injuries last year, so they definitely might be a better team overall this season. But where does that leave the St. John's Red Storm? When I first started talking about them, I did not think that Rick Pitino was going to have a great shot of taking them to the tournament in year one. But that was before all of these transfer portal additions. And it doesn't matter who you talk about. Glenn Taylor Jr. from Oregon State, Jordan Dingle from Penn, who was the second leading scorer in college basketball last season, and now he's coming into the Big East, and he's going to be playing for Rick Pitino. That's huge as well. He's brought in tons of Iona transfer, whether it's Stannis Jenkins, Cruz Davis, or Quinn Slazinski. Joel Soriano's back. He's the only player back from last year's team, and he was a double-double machine. That's a good addition. Naheem Aline's transferring in from UConn. He's a guy that has national championship experience, playing in the tournament for the Huskies, winning a title. That will help for sure, even if it's off the bench. Sean Conway, the VMI transfer, probably will come off the bench as well. You are losing Posh Alexander and Dylan Adewusu from last year's team, but that's not too bad of a loss with all of these additions that St. John's is bringing in. They got Brady Dunlap, a four-star recruit, to commit, and then you've got Zuby Ejiofor as well, transferring from the Kansas Jayhawks, so he's got experience being on a blue blood program, and he's coming over to the St. John's Red Storm. It just goes on and on. I cannot believe all of these additions. Again, I knew that Rick Pitino was going to be able to turn St. John's around. I just didn't know it was going to be this quick, and the fact that he's brought in this many guys through the portal. Now you bring in Chris Ledlum. The only caveat to Chris Ledlum is the fact that, according to reports, he might be injured. He might not be completely healthy during this offseason, but as long as he's back by the time college basketball comes around, I think he should be good to go because he is an older player. He played at Harvard. He's a very smart guy, and he averaged 18 points and 9 boards with the Crimson last season, and he was going to Tennessee. That would have really helped out the Volunteers. Tough loss for Rick Barnes, by the way, because he was one of their headline transfer additions. They still have Dalton Neck, and they do have some good players coming back, but that is a big loss for the Volunteers and will definitely lower their expectations for next season. But now St. John's is at him. As long as Chris Ledlum's healthy, that will be a big addition to go on with the rest of these roster additions. All of these players can score. Most of the guys I mentioned averaged double figures last season, even if it was at a smaller school. It does not matter because St. John's is bringing in so many players that even if a guy actually underperforms where people think that that guy's going to perform, other guys are probably going to do better than what you think as well. So it's going to wash itself out. It's going to cancel each other out. St. John's basketball, I don't know how good they're going to be. I can't commit to say that they're going to be like a top 6 seed in the tournament and one of the best teams in the Big East next year because there's so much roster attrition and all these new guys are going to have to learn to play together. And even though Rick Pitino is a Hall of Fame coach, he's a fantastic leader of a basketball team, it's still his first year and there's going to be some growing pains to start the year, and the Big East is still a really tough conference. A lot of teams are going to be solid next year, even if they are teams that we are a bit uncertain about. And St. John's has the most uncertainty of all, but the one one thing that is true is that St. John's basketball is in good hands. They brought in a very talented roster for next year, despite the fact that they have not played together yet, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do right out of the gate. But if Rick Pitino can get this roster together, Chris Ledlum, Jordan Dingle, Naheem Aline, the Iona transfers, Glenn Taylor Jr., it goes on and on. All these guys can just mesh together and be able to pair with Joel Soriano, the lone returnee from the St. John's roster that played significant minutes last season. And you also can't even forget Simeon Wilcher. I didn't even mention him as well. He also was a guy that was committed to North Carolina. He's going to St. John's. So all these additions are going to help out the Red Storm. I'm excited to see how they're going to do. I think this is the last time I'm going to be talking about St. John's this offseason before basketball season is back in action in the fall, but who knows? Maybe something else will happen that we got to talk about with Rick Pitino. Sometimes no news is good news, but in the case of the Red Storm, it's been a great offseason getting all these players. Rick Pitino's done a fantastic job, and now they just got to get all this talent on the floor. And Chris Ledlum being the latest addition and potentially the last addition to the St. John's roster, because I think the roster is full now. The Red Storm are looking good for next season, and they definitely will be competitive in the Big East next season, but it's going to be interesting to see how good they possibly could be depending on how well this roster meshes together. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Chris Ledlum transferring to the St. John's Red Storm, whether you were surprised he decommitted from Tennessee, and whether you think that Rick Pitino can mesh all of this talent together and be able to make a team that actually can compete toward the top of the Big East next season. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.